Hello there. I'm Scotty, and you're not. And I picked the 70s, and so I decided to do American Graffiti. I don't like that cover. It's a nice slip cover, but American Graffiti. Where were you in 1962? American Graffiti is a retro look back at the 60s, directed by George Lucas, and produced by Francis Ford Coppola, of all people. Starring Ron Howard, Charles Martin Smith, Richard Dreyfuss, Cindy Williams, cameo from Harrison Ford, Wolfman Jack, and Paul Lamont, excuse me, Candy Clark, Mackenzie Phillips. Ron Howard is credited as Ronnie Howard. This is before Happy Days. And actually, I'm going to be referring a lot to Happy Days in this review because there are some similarities to Happy Days. I think that Gary Marshall took inspiration. I mean, Happy Days was technically filmed before this. They started doing it before this, but it didn't get out till 1974. So, here's how the story goes. If you watch the 30th anniversary, the story goes like this. Gary Marshall wanted to do a show set in the 1950s, which ended up being Happy Days, because their deal was, if you do a show set in the 50s, then reruns, it won't look, and it won't feel, it won't look bad. It won't look dated if you said something in the past. So that's where it was. It became a new family in town, which the networks didn't want. They said no. It was shelved. They put it on Love American Style, which was an anthology film an anthology series back in the 70s, but it didn't do anything. And then American Graffiti came along, and this came out, and you had Ron Howard in something that's very 50s and 60s, but they're around the same era, that whole drive-ins and drag races and soda pop and sock hops and all that stuff. Network executives caught wind of this and said to Gary Marshall, hey, you got Ron Howard doing 50s. Let's see it. Brought it out. Well, not quite good enough, but let's rework it. And thus we got Happy Days. And starting right off with the similarities, you turn this on, you press play, and you hear a 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rock. A 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight. Bill Haley in the comments. And Bill Haley in the comments playing Rock Around the Clock, which was originally the name for it, but then there was Bill Haley in the comments actually did a movie back in the 50s so they didn't do that. But yeah, you hear that playing, and I'm thinking Happy Days, right? You gotta believe that Gary Marshall heard the song in this and is like, you know what? I'll use that for my show over there. So yeah, you have Ron Howard, and more similarities to Happy Days. The main cast includes Ron Howard, two friends, Richard Dreyfuss and Charles Martin Smith, and Paul and Matt plays this sort of Fonzie-esque character who has a car. He wears a white t-shirt. He's kind of the cool guy. He does smoke. But Henry Winkler said, you stay away from cigarettes in the TV show. Yeah, he's kind of that sort of character that's cool. Although what they do with his character for most of the film is kind of questionable to me, but we'll get to it. I did like this movie, just so you know. I have some problems with it, but I did like this movie. So you have Ron Howard and two friends. Ron Howard's got a girlfriend whose name is Lori. Happy Days. He would have a girlfriend, eventually have a girlfriend named Lori Beth. There are no parent characters, and there's no little sister, although there is like a 12-year-old Mackenzie Phillips driving around in the car with Paul the Matt. I don't know what that was about or why she's even in this movie. And if you want to kind of round out which character would be which, I think that Charles Martin Smith's character Toad would be the Ralph Malph character. He's not as goofy, but he seems like that sort of, he would fit in that category. And of course, then Richard Dreyfuss would be the Potsy character, although he's not as stupid. Uh, and it starts out okay for me. They're all together. They're talking about, Ron Howard and Richard Dreyfuss talking about, oh, we're graduated and we're leaving town and we're getting out of here. Ron Howard, uh, he's got a girlfriend named Laurie, and he's like, we can see other people when I'm gone. Maybe it'll strengthen our relationship. She doesn't like that at all. She's played by Cindy Williams, who would also end up being like Happy Days and then later Laverne and Shirley. So that's that connection there, and that's sort of their problem. And then you got Charles Martin Smith's character Toad, who's with his girlfriend. Steve gives him his car, so he's driving around in that, and he's with his girlfriend. He tries to buy beer. He tries to hook up with her. The car gets stolen. He's got to find that. Gets beat up. And Paula Pat's character, Frank, I don't remember his name. I want to say it's like Jack or something. No, I don't remember. I do not remember the guy's name, but Paula Pat's character comes to help. Paula Met's character comes to help him later. Comes to help him later, but Paula Matt's character is driving around with Mackenzie Phillips for the entire film. Like, he's driving around, he picks her up, they drive around, they talk, and it's just mostly driving around until the end of the film when he has a drag race. That's kind of, like, I kept going back to him, like, is he going to do anything except for drive around? He's at the beginning, he's talking and stuff, and he's just driving around with her the entire time. You meet Harrison Ford's character, they end up in a drag race, and somehow Laurie ends up in the car with Harrison Ford and won't leave, even though she says, if you're going to drag race, you let me out. And he's like, well, shut up. And she stays in the car with him, and the car ends up tipping over and crashing. Like, the drag race, there's no drag race. They start, something happens, Harrison Ford's car gets knocked over, and then it's done. I'm guessing Paul Lamette wins. I don't know. And the whole thing with Steve and Laurie is they're together. They're in her car because he gave his car a Toad, and they're having problems. And then they split up, and they do the whole cliche. She goes to get back with him, but she sees him sitting in a booth with another girl. And then later, two other girls come up. She gets jealous because the one girl sitting there. That little old stereotype thing that's probably wasn't overdone yet, but it's overdone now, where girlfriend's like, oh, maybe I should forgive him, and then sees him with another girl and freaks out, thinking he's automatically getting with someone else, even though they both, said they were going to see other people, but they don't want to. And Richard Dreyfuss, his character throughout the film, he sees this hot blonde, played by Suzanne Summers, and his quest throughout the film is to try to find her. At one point they say she's a prostitute, at one place they say she's something else. Trying to find her, he goes to Wolfman Jack, who says he's not Wolfman Jack, but ends up being Wolfman Jack. He ends up getting a phone call from her, and maybe hooks up, but then leaves at the end of the movie. I liked the aesthetic, I liked the music in this, I thought was pretty good. I did enjoy the film, however, I think this movie was overhyped for me. People are saying this is one of the greatest 50s based films, or that time era based films ever made. It is good, I'll admit that. I had someone, because I didn't say that Close Encounters of the Third Kind was a masterpiece, they flipped out and they're like, oh, this is my favorite movie, and if I had never seen it before and watched your review, I wouldn't want to watch it. I said, well, it is my opinion, all right? I liked Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There are parts of it that did bug me. Not everyone is going to love the same movie as you. And if you love this movie, good for you. I thought it was okay. And who knows? There's always a second viewing or a third viewing. Sometimes movies get better when you watch them. Sometimes they get worse. I think this movie has potential to be better. But for me, it's still in the middle of the road. I like the acting. I like the music. I like the 50s. I like things that are set in the 50s and 60s. I like that kind of era. I even like the music because I grew up with that music. My grandparents, specifically my grandpa, used to play stuff like Beach Boys. That's in this movie. Beach Boys, The Runaway by Dell. There's a bunch of songs in here that I grew up with, that I loved, and I was tapping my toes and I was singing along with. I love the aesthetic. Happy Days, one of my favorite sitcoms of all time, very much represented here in this 50s, 60s era movie. There's just some things like Paul LeMaitre's character is supposed, he's the cool guy, but he's driving around the entire movie until it's time for a drag race. That doesn't really happen. You have Richard Dreyfuss looking for this girl, and he doesn't really end up finding her. I like Toad and his little plotline, and I like Steve's plotline of the whole relationship. Where's it going to go? They end up staying together at the end, and he ends up staying behind. I like that. But it's the middle of the road. It's a mixed bag for me. It's not a perfect film by any means to me, but I did enjoy it. So it's getting in the middle of the road. Don't hate me for it, all right? Don't be typing, oh, well, this is my favorite movie, and if I had watched your review, don't do that, because that's just like, I understand it's your favorite movie. If you love this movie, that's your prerogative, man. I liked it. Okay? Don't hate on me for it. I know people, classic movies like this, a lot of people nowadays, this is my first time watching this, okay? I'd never seen it before. I had been hyped up, but maybe I was hyped up too much. This is going to be great. People say, oh, this is a great movie. Man, you're going to love it. And I just never gave it a chance. George Lucas, for me, I think he's a great director. If I had to put these in a row here, Star Wars would be at the top, definitely. Then this, and then Howard Duck. And I don't know what else he directed. I'm not sure which Star Wars. I know he did like A New Hope, but I don't think he didn't do Empire Strikes Back. That's Irving Kershner, and I know he didn't do Return of the Jedi. That's like Richard Marquand or something. But I know he did this. I think he did the prequel, the first prequel, right? I don't know, but I think this was good. I thought it was good. Not great. Middle of the road. Okay, I'm defending myself here, but it's the middle of the road. All right. Older movies sometimes are a little bit hard for me to get into. So maybe the next time I watch this. And again, here's the thing. I did watch it on my my portable DVD player because I was playing a video game. I was just editing stuff in 2K22, so it wasn't like I wasn't paying attention. I was, but it was hard for me to hear because the thing was so low. I had the air conditioner going. Not right now because it's hot. It's like 90 degrees outside. Right now it's fine when I'm doing this review, but I turn the air conditioner on when I'm done. But that maybe a second watch sometime later when I have free time. We'll bump it up. Who knows? That's why like first viewing reviews, are set up for eventual revisiteds because there are, I can rewatch that again. I rewatch it. Oh, this is this, and this. I noticed this. It's not always 100%, but for now, it's the middle of the road. I did enjoy it though. I enjoyed it. All right. So what's next? And we got Peacock. Ladies and gentlemen. Peacock streaming service. So I have to look and see what's on there for movies. We'll see. I may do horror. Who knows? Got to write this down. Hold on. Peacock. Excuse me. Spell it right. Yep. Okay. Peacock, I don't know yet. So what are your thoughts on American Graffiti? If you love it, fine. But don't judge me because you love it and I just liked it. All right? Don't be don't be typing in saying, hey, you didn't love this movie and so no, I don't like you. It's all subjective, right? It's all your own opinions. That's what this is. It's an opinion. I liked it. Okay? Don't hate on me. I liked Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I just thought there was problems with it. I got a problem with some movies. Okay? Just saying. So what are your thoughts on American Graffiti? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.